Film Diet Podcast.
And then it's just sequel after sequel after sequel.
There was no character development at all.
Just on pure technical levels.
There are filmmakers that don't want it just to be an entertainment experience.
Hello and welcome to Film Diet Podcast. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Dana, and today we're going to be talking about the Rise of the Planet of the Apes series. Apart from the fact it's a long-winded name.
Yeah, do you call them the Rise of the Planet of the Apes series? Or do you call them...
The Planet of the Apes series.
Of the Apes.
Of the Apes series. What would you call it? Because we're going to have to put this in the description. We better work it out now.
Apes.
The Apes series. So that's, the first thing, it's a very complicated name. It would have felt better if it was Rise of the Apes or something like that.
And Dawn of the Apes and War of the Apes.
Would have been better.
Sounds way better than of the.
I know they're trying to milk the Planet of the Apes franchise thing, but the name is just so convoluted.
It totally would have made more sense to me if they just did it the other way. Rise of the Apes. Because we all know what the apes are.
Absolutely.
And who you're trying to fool here.
And if you don't know, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because you will see it with fresh eyes and be like, oh, sweet.
Yeah.
You love it or you don't.
So we'll start off with the first one, which is Rise of the Planet of the Apes. There's three. There's a trilogy at the moment.
Because Disney own them now. And that's one of the franchises they've greenlit and said, yep, we'll go ahead with making some more. If
we start with the first one, in essence, the film's a story about, parenthood and growing up and coming of age. It's really a story about two people. It's not until the third act when things really sort of pick up and become humans versus apes. Yeah. But up until that point, it's a father and son kind of story. Even though they're not related by blood, he really takes him on board as a son.
Or even related by species.
Yeah, that's right.
Going into this one, it was weird because there was a bit of stigma from the Tim Burton one. So I was thinking, another one?
Yeah.
Hopefully it's going to be better than that at least. And just didn't know how to take it. Going in, I was like, I just did not know what to expect.
The introduction doesn't really give much away in that it is in labs, and it starts very off similar to how the Tim Burton one begins, all in labs.
Yeah. In space.
In space.
Apes
in space.
With Mark Wahlberg.
As it continues on, it really starts to get invested with the characters, like James Franco character, and then Anti-Circus playing the ape.
Caesar. And Frida Pinto, James Franco's partner.
Yeah.
So they're a couple they're both scientists. He's a part of this new sort of program where they're trying to experiment, and he's trying to find a cure for his dad's Alzheimer's disease. Yeah. Who's played by John Lithgow. He needs more funding, I think. Is that right? He needs more funding, so he's got to sort of do a successful test of the cure, which involves apes. One of the apes, remember, smashes out into one of the boardroom meetings.
Yeah.
And they're just like, this ain't happening.
Shut it down. And then James Franco wants to continue on with his studies, so he moves it on to his home.
Takes the ape home and then raises him.
From that point on, it's a story about growing up. What it's like to be a parent, what it's like to grow up. What it's like to grow up being different. How do you see yourself in the world? Where Caesar really had an issue where he wanted to see himself different than as a pet. Yeah. He'd see you see dogs and things and feel like he's not that. And what is he? Yeah, what is he? The story about trying to feel equal and trying to feel like you belong.
Like you got a place.
His whole life he's been shoved up in the attic, and he hasn't really been able to feel normal. Yeah. Every time he goes out and tries to do the right thing, that always ends up going bad for him.
Especially that part when John Lithgow, I think, is having a what do you call it, like a moment, or having an episode, an Alzheimer's episode, where he starts forgetting where he is, and frustrated, and I think he runs into that guy's car. The guy's like having a go at him, and he's just like, really doesn't know what's going on. Yeah. And you really feel for the John Lithgow character at this point. You're like,
looking, he's like, what do I do?
Yeah, I don't even know what's going on. And then Caesar sort of like, jumps down there and then bites the guy's finger off.
Yeah, because he's trying to do the right thing and
defending his his
family.
pack. So that was the first moment I was like, oh shit, yeah, this is a bit. It's really playing well into the drama because it's making you root for the characters and the ape, and you're like, wow, you know,
they're strong themes. They're very strong themes.
Hard not to feel something when you're seeing that.
One of those things where we understand both point of views. You know, we understand what he's trying to do is a good thing, or what he thinks is a good thing. But then biting someone's finger off isn't so good.
Yeah.
And the whole how to react in those sort of circumstances within society and outsider versus what it's like to live within a society that you don't belong to and everyone sees you as an animal, not as a person.
Dangerous animal or a savage animal.
As we move on, and he ends up being taken to the ape
shelter. Yeah. Ape jail. This part's a bit hard to watch at times, isn't it? Because you're like, oh, you're really feeling it. Because it's amazing how much they win you over with the Caesar character.
Yeah.
They just, from sort of scene one, you're kind of building up to this moment where it's the good old Lassie moment. Once again, where he has to say goodbye, you know?
Yeah.
It has to leave Caesar at the shelter, and when he realises that's what's going on, and it's a heartbreaking moment, and you're like, oh shit, you know, I'm feeling for a CGI character. But that's the performance of Andy Serkis shining through. And Brian Cox, who's the guy running the shelter, he's a great actor as well. The way he just flips and turns as soon as James Franco leaves, and then all of a sudden he's nasty, and Malfoy.
It's Malfoy.
Malfoy's in it. It's the only other thing I've ever seen him in.
Yeah, I think that's about it. He did a very good performance though. It was very good.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was great.
It was very effective.
It was interesting to see how the society between the apes,
because he's shunned from them as well. Like
at the beginning, he is.
They're all just like turning their back on him, and they pick on him when he goes out into the playpen part. Yeah, he kind of he's smart because he goes, okay, I'll win over the big dude. He hears him, he hears his big roaring. And then he realises it's the big silverback, and he goes, okay, I'm going to win him over, and then everyone else will follow suit. Yeah. So that's what he does. And it's like the old jail rules sort of thing, isn't it? That kind of idea. You know, you either knock out the biggest guy in the jail or befriend him and you should be all right.
That was probably the first time that he felt like he belonged. It was a very simplistic way of looking at the ape society rather than looking at, you know, our society is very confusing and he doesn't feel like he belongs, but then he's able to force himself to belong within the apes, and he doesn't get looked at all of a sudden as an outsider. He kind of feels like he belongs. And
he's like, I'm going to own this.
Yeah.
I'm going to run this town.
He's able to give him that gas to make him smart.
Yeah. He escapes and breaks into the lab.
Yeah, that's
right. Yeah. And you see Koba. I think this is one of the first times you see Koba. He's a very scary looking ape.
But I mean, he was fucked up when he was getting started on. He was really... They really fucked him over.
Yeah. So he's got a lot of issues.
Yeah.
Koba. Not happy. And it sort of just goes from there, doesn't it? He breaks them all out. Them all out of ape jail, and he's got his little army.
Yeah, they make their way through San Francisco.
Yeah, across the bridge, just in case you didn't know it was San Francisco. Chuck in the most recognisable landmark, and then they have that big battle on the bridge.
That was a great battle.
It was a good battle. We have the silverbacks, charging
well
in.
Thought out.
And you got Maurice as well, the orangutan.
Yeah.
He's a cool character.
Yeah. Because
he doesn't talk and he's just all like sign language. He's the circus one. Very cool character. Yeah. I'm a big fan of orangutan, so, Yeah. And I love just how they've gone about the design as well of the apes. I think we should, I'd love to talk about that because, as in contrast to the original, where it's just humans and ape makeup. And even the Tim Burton one, you had humans in ape makeup. Yeah. And then this one's a new technique of mocap.
Yeah, all mocap. Yeah. And something that Andy Serkis was a real big pioneer of, all the way back to Lord of the Rings. And Gollum, and then he did King Kong, and he really kept...
So he did King Kong, so he had mastered the ape thing.
That's right.
Yeah, how valuable is that for him, I guess if he didn't have Andy Serkis, it probably wouldn't have worked.
No, because it's just the way that he's able to think of something that doesn't even exist yet, and try and understand the mannerisms and the thought processes of an ape, that character doesn't even exist. You have to create it from scratch, and it doesn't have all the costumes and everything to go with it that normally would help. It's nothing. You're wearing a suit. You're performing in a suit.
You're almost performing in something that's anti-creative. Because when you look at it, you go, it's just...
Especially though it's very sterile.
Yeah.
Very sterile kind of setup.
Yeah, and it's almost like it should distract you. So it's a real testament to show you, you know, the level that Andy Serkis, he's on a whole different wavelength than, I guess that's why he is who he is.
Yeah. And then the technology of just the realism of those apes.
I know they had some, I can't remember the guy, but they had a guy on the film as well, obviously doing ape school, teaching them all how they behave and how to walk and move like an ape. And him and Andy Serkis, I suppose, just really fleshed out the language of the apes, you know. And top marks for that. I think it's still one of the highest benchmarks in mocapped characters.
It's not just mocapping a person or something that we know. It's mocapping a completely different creature and trying to make it feel realistic.
Yeah, because we all know what an ape looks like. It's not like doing the Navis from Avatar.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I have no emotional connection to those characters in that film. I more see them as like a distraction because they're very humanoid. At the same time, they're not, and they're just kind of distracting. I find, because I'm just sort of like, especially in like Sigourney Weaver's one, Sam Worthington's one, and you're looking at the actors, sort of the way they've sort of incorporated some of the features of the actors onto that design of the Navi, and they're really big, they're really tall. Yeah, I know it's a strange thing about that film. Yeah. I love everything else about the film. Like, I love Pandora, the planet, and I love the designs and the visuals. But overall, I just didn't become invested in the characters. And I think it's that, because I felt very separated from those characters. But whereas in Rise of the Planet of the Apes, you definitely become invested into these characters straight off the bat, I reckon. Yeah.
And we can accept them for what they are and understand what they are, rather than trying to make like this weird hybrid, like they did with the new Cats musical they're bringing out. Yeah. Summing up, the first film is a great place to start, because it was a simple, basic story to start with that really dealt with some human real life subjects, which is great to see, but we can also see that progression of a bigger story starting to build up. Yeah,
it was a good starting point, because it wasn't too big, it didn't like blow its load too quickly, and it sort of sustained the runtime. I mean, it's not overly long either. It's 104 minutes, and that these days, when you think about it, is very short. Like if they go in with these franchise movies, they're looking at 2 hours plus minimum. And that's kind of, it zips by, does what it needs to do, and it's done. Yeah. And you're ready for the next one.
And that brings us to the next one, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
And this is when there was a change in directors. So Rupert Wyatt was the guy who did the first one, and he actually had done a prison movie before Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and I thought that's why they might have tapped him to do this film called The Escapist, and they had Brian Cox in it as well. But I just thought, why would they pick this guy? Like, out of all directors, they picked this guy, and I can see why, because he grounded the film. He really gave it that feel, like it wasn't trying to be an overly big effects film. It was kind of just grounded and small. And then with the next one, obviously they get Matt Reeves in, the guy that done Cloverfield. He's J.J. Abrams, one of his dudes, and obviously a bigger scope now.
This was more of a progression of a war story where we've got these clear sides now, sort of.
Yeah, because like time has passed, hasn't it? Yeah. Because at the end, actually, before we get into this, the end credits of the first one shows you the spread of the disease.
That's right.
It's so well done, because it's just at the end credits, and it's kind of setting up the next film that way. Yeah.
Where they've basically knocked down the human race to only a
small pockets.
Small pockets. And then we've also got small pockets of the apes, which is, it's cool to play with, and where now it's like two societies against one another.
In an apocalyptic kind of setting.
Yeah. And,
very cool.
Where we've got those stereotypical, you got, the scientists and you got the war guys, and on both sides we've got them. But yeah, it's just interesting to see that kind of story told through apes, apes versus people. It also has those twists to the story where really both sides want something good in the end. They're all trying to fight for
survival,
but neither of them are really portrayed as necessarily bad or good. They just want to survive.
They're just kind of coexisting to an extent, because I think if the humans had a stronger foothold, or they were in a better position, they probably would have wiped out the apes, straight away, just for the disease and all that and what had happened. But it seems like they're on their back legs a bit in this film. The humans really are struggling for power, for resources, all those things. So they're needing to go up to where the apes are. This is a bit convenient for the story, that they need to go sort of on the apes' territory to get power for the town. So I found that a bit contrived, but at the same time, that's what you need to do when you create these stories. You need to create reasons for these overlapping characters and for drama to take place. And it's fitting. It wasn't the worst kind of contrived thing in the world, but it definitely could have probably been a bit tighter in little areas there, I think. But overall, just the starting of the way this film starts, because it's been it's a big time jump between the two, and then you're sort of starting off when Caesar's like in command, and they're hunting this deer, and they're all kind of up in the trees, and they're doing their little hunting tricks, and they bloody spring the traps and all that, and get the deer, and it's just cool to see that how the apes work together. So it's, immediately you're seeing how tight they are as a unit.
Expanded a society.
And how much they've come. Yeah.
How that's developed. And then, as you said, you got the interaction, you got the scientists that come up and say, we need to do this, and they try and work together, but then you got the
contrived guy.
Yeah, you got the rogue
soldier man that's like, has to ruin it for everyone.
Yeah.
Of course. But, it works. Like, it doesn't need to be like groundbreaking filmmaking. It's more about the effects and... that's more at the forefront, I suppose. Yeah,
but I mean, what I enjoyed most was the interaction between the two societies and how that worked, and sort of exploring how that falls apart. That was the biggest takeaway from this, is a kind of, the first one's all about the very beginning, it's creating circumstances for which things will begin. Yeah. Cut to the second one.
How to sustain, almost.
Yeah, how can they coexist or not coexist, and how will that escalate? Because we all know the ending. We've seen the first ones where it's the humans are slaves. But now we're looking at where we get there. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes expands on that more.
Gary Oldman plays a very important role in this film as the leader of the human town. And he just provides a lot of human backbone. And emotion for that side, so you're seeing two sides of the story, Caesar and Gary Oldman, and how they go about sorting out this issue. And it's not until like Cobra and the few human errors that they make on both sides where they start to sort of attack each other, and basically it becomes wartime. They're starting to really go at each other.
A negative takeaway is some of the characters were very formulaic. Where you did have that typical sciencey person, that typical hero, and that typical war guy that just wants to destroy things. And it was a bit, but I kind of accepted it and moved on.
Yeah. But the visual side of things and all that was really cool.
It really expanded, like that huge fight scene at the end where they're up at the top of the
that building,
It was great.
In that big fight with him and Cobra. And
it's great. And But it set itself up ready for the third one, which I was super excited for.
I was hyped.
I was at this time. This was one of the very few franchises that get you in and hold you there, and that excitement and that anticipation was really there for War of Planet of the Apes. Like, this is it. I watched that trailer. I said, yes, it's going to be huge.
Because the trailer definitely sold it well. And you're like, oh shit, this is going to be wicked, Graphics are looking even better. And then the film starts. Well, the starting wasn't so bad. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Right. It's almost like the second one.
Bit of a different feel to it, but that's okay. We'll let it slide, let it ring, and then...
Something didn't feel right from the get-go, did it?
It was just something... I mean, it was very similar, but then it was something that, okay.
I wouldn't have started it like that.
Yeah.
That's exactly, I think, how I started watching. I'm thinking, that's not how I would have gone about it.
Yeah.
But, I thought, whatever.
High hopes. Keep going.
There's some good stuff coming. It's coming.
And
then Caesar's family gets bumped off by Woody Harrelson. And I was like, okay, so these characters that he just built up in the last film get taken out straight away.
Yeah.
And then I thought, here we go. It's going to be about this figurehead on figurehead thing.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that whole both sides are right thing kind of started falling apart. Where
wearing thin as well.
Then it slows the fuck down.
The brakes go on big time, don't they? They're like, okay, we got to get from point A to point B. That's the film.
Yeah.
You know,
we're going to throw in this girl because we can, because we want sentimental value, so we'll throw in a girl.
We need a human element in there, and everyone feels for a little girl, and they will feel sad for her because her dad's dead, and la-di-da-di-da.
We'll flip it on its head, so it's like the first one, but reversed, and everyone will feel for it, but then we're not going to actually expand on that relationship too much. We're just going to have it there, because that'll be enough.
Yeah. And they find that kind of crazy ape along the way as well, and he joins the group, and he's like the comedy sidekick, you know, played by Steve Zahn, which, you know, I didn't mind his character too much because I thought it was adding a bit of fun into the bleakness of the film, because I found this film very bleak, and I was like, oh, I'm depressed. And then he was just kind of giving it a bit of warmth throughout the film, maybe a bit too much here and there. But yeah, I really liked the way they kind of went about the humans were regressing. How they sort of dealt with that. Because I was always wondered about that, how that kind of happened in the original one, how humans became more like cavemen again and forgot how to talk and all this sort of stuff. So I liked how they kind of crowbarred that in, but it was pretty cool just to see how they didn't obviously exposition dump it. You know, they kind of let it kind of sit there as the story moved along. Yeah, you find out Woody Harrelson's got it by the end of the film, and which was kind of unsatisfying, you know, as well. That was another element too, because he just kills himself, doesn't he? He doesn't even have a battle or a war, so to speak, with Caesar at the end.
It's called War of the Planet of the Apes. I was expecting shit to...
Like a war?
But it was like a battle on a hill.
Really. That's what it felt like. A battle. And that's like the old film is Battle of the Apes, you know, that's one of the old ones. And I thought, well, that would have been way more fitting, but I think people just don't really gravitate to the word battle. So they're like, no, war is a much stronger name.
Even though it wasn't a war.
And like, well, what war?
Well, I was kind of expecting this one to like become almost like a nationwide battle in some senses,
absolutely,
or even a worldwide battle where it is like a huge war, you know, where the apes have grown themselves up to where they're on par with the human
and it's like population. This is it.
And I really was expecting, but it was not. It was just
very low key for a film to be revolving around this war theme.
Who can take on the building?
And I understand that war can be like different ways. Like you got different sides of war. It's not always two massive armies running at each other. You know, you got urban warfare, you've got tactics, you've got stealth, you've got, you know, which I did appreciate, you know, the Woody Harrelson character coming in with his night vision and, you know, coming to take out Caesar and all that sort of stuff. Like there's elements in it I'm thinking, that's cool, that's pretty good, I like that. You know, and it's all revolving around the idea of war and how war comes about, but it doesn't really necessarily... Like the third act, if they were going to call it war, it should have been a war, not a battle on a hill. And then an avalanche takes out...
Yeah, that was stupid. That avalanche...
Oh, my God. It was like a way just to quickly brush everything under the rug and end film.
It was very...
hokey.
Very hokey.
Very cheesy.
It's like, all right, we want to wipe everyone out. How can we do that?
Well, there is snow. Should we do an avalanche?
And it's silly because they spent all this time developing the story up to this point and they wipe them out just so quick. It's like, well, what was the point of this film existing if that's all you were going to do at the end?
The worst, another bad part of this as well is like, Woody Harrelson's like, they're all, you know, that other army's coming, and we're going to have to fight them or something like that. And you're expecting this sort of big three-sided fight almost because you got two humans that'll be, you know. And then when they rock up, they're just like these faceless soldiers with, you know, with masks on. And it's very by the numbers. It seems so low budget. I feel like they didn't have much of a budget, or their budget was like cut.
Or they just rushed it.
And rushed at the same time.
Unfortunately, we lost a lot of what the original ones had, where it was seeing two sides, the good and the bad, and the interaction and how the warfare works between them. And this one became a lot more surface.
It's weird because, you know, it still made a healthy profit. Like, it was meant to be about 150 million and it made 490, just under 500. So it's not like a massive failure. But I don't feel that budget on the screen, especially when, for the most part, they're just cross-country walking, you know. And I actually didn't mind some of that because it reminded me of the original.
Yeah.
How they're trekking across the country.
If we reflect on that kind of idea, Lord of the Rings has that, but there's also other things going on. At least when there is walking, there's other stuff to keep the story going on and expanding, and it's not all just let's walk. Yeah,
it kind of just felt like that. Like, it's just like story, plot. We're doing this now. Don't worry about anything else.
Yeah.
Like, you could have had more stuff going on, and it just felt so small.
That's what I was expecting, you know. With a war, the word war in your title, I'm expecting all these other things behind the scenes happening, and all this communication between different tribes and groups, and all of this stuff going on, and how that will change depending on the tribe and the culture, and all that stuff happening. Expecting this big giant mess of a situation that you normally get with wars.
Absolutely, just a chaos. Yeah, I did like some of the ideas they had with, like, the humans having their own apes, and the way they just treat them like shit, and they've kind of got them to sort of snuff out and snitch on the other apes and stuff.
Yeah.
Which I thought, it's horrible, but that's a really cool idea, you know, and it works. But, like, you had that white ape, the albino one, and he how he betrays Caesar and stuff like that, and it's just like, oh geez, it's pretty cool, but overall it's the lesser of the three.
Unfortunately, it felt a bit rushed, and it didn't live up to the hype that I was expecting.
Caesar at the end as well. He dies as well.
Well, everyone dies.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's a very underwhelming death.
Yeah, it is. It kind of, as I said, you feel cheated. You're just like, okay, they're gone. What was the point?
Because he gets hit by that arrow.
Yeah.
By that, just some soldier. And it just didn't feel like it had any weight to it or significance. Yeah. And I understand maybe that's what he wanted to go for. Like, he wanted, like, war. Sometimes the most important people just get taken out by shrapnel or something. Yeah. So it's kind of like not trying to overplay it. But I think it needed to be overplayed. I think it really needed to be...
This is the third film of the franchise, and we've been following this person this whole time.
Yeah, I felt cheated on the character. You know, like they just went this kind of small route and thought, that'll work. That works. Yeah. I didn't think it worked. It just didn't ring true.
And maybe it's something that if they had more time to work on post, maybe it might have been different. But it was just... They really wanted to keep riding the wave. The
wave of the planet of the...
That'll be the next one.
Yeah.
Speaking about the next one, they're talking about, revamping the franchise. So,
yeah. So hopefully, good things ahead.
I'm hoping that they can expand. Now we've just killed off everyone in that last mob. But at least hopefully we can expand on it and continue the actual war.
Well, I suppose it could... They might go the route of rebooting it like the first one, the Charlton Heston one, because you'll kind of go into the future again, and those films are starting off when, if you remember, when Caesar's like a bygone leader. Yeah. So they're always referring to Caesar in past tense, and he was the almighty leader, like a Jesus Christ or something like that, and the prophecy and all this sort of stuff. So I think they will basically retell the original, and if they do it like a TV show or like a Netflix thing, they could really kind of flesh it out and stretch it to and keep it quite entertaining, because you could have, say, 10 episodes, but that is enough to kind of focus on the first movie, and you can even build on it even further from there, because there's plenty to explore.
Yeah, so much, a lot of depth.
Building up characters in the ape community and building up characters, whether you got the humans coming from space again and crash landing, and then adjusting to the caveman like humans and all that sort of stuff. Like, it could work really well.
Yeah. Well, now we've got Disney on the helm. We'll see how it goes.
Hard to say.
Jury's out on this one.
Very interesting. But I definitely probably recommend them in order. The first one's the strongest, the second one not so much,
and then the third one,
and then the third one's just off the mark. But overall, it's not a bad trilogy. Like, overall, when you hold it up to others, but it's unfortunately falls to that same stigma of the third one being a letdown. Like,
If that one was done a bit better, or if they slowed down, gave them another year to work on it, it would have been like a perfect trilogy.
Yeah, I would have been very happy with that.
But anyway, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
So I guess we'll finish there.
Wrap it up.
Make sure you follow us on YouTube.
Yep.
Like, subscribe, and all that.
Thank you for listening.
See you later.
Adios. To Film Diet Podcast.